Testing. One, two, three. Testing. One, two, three. Okay. Get a little test down here. Took me all of an hour and 15 minutes to get in here. Not complaining. Not complaining. Okay. Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thy King, power, glory, yours now forever. Your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ, our King. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. You want this? I know you can't wait. You can't wait. So I'm going to read from you today, 2 Corinthians 12:9. Okay, 12:9. My eyes are not so good today. Oof. Here we go. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Dr. Stanley says, none of us can escape the pressures of life. Most of us know what it feels like to be disappointed. We know the painfulness of embarrassment, the sting of rejection, and the sorrow of failure. There always comes a time when the lids come boiling off the pots and pans crash to the floor. Wow. What pots are boiling out of control in your life? Is there a financial need? Maybe you face a relationship crisis. Thank God, no. Are you urgently praying for God's wisdom? Absolutely. Regardless of your situation, you can trust in this principle. Whatever brings you to your knees in weakness carries the greatest potential for your success and spiritual victory. Amen to that. Often, we don't thank God when things are great. I really do, because I understand how much He's done for me. But often we come to God when we're in desperate situations. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. Our Father in heaven wants us to come to Him. He wants us to come to Him, especially when we're desperate and we need help. But He just as greatly will take pride in the fact that you recognize His helping hand when you have a success after struggling, a success that is really brought upon by His grace. So that's very important, very important. And don't worry about stumbling again and again and again and again. Oh gosh, I stumble all the time. I am trying to lose this last 100 pounds, and it's very, very, very hard. Okay, not making excuses. I shouldn't eat as much as I do. And believe me, I've cut my breakfast literally in half. One piece of bacon, one egg, and one half of one English muffin, and 2 cups of coffee. I mean, versus what I used to eat was two bacon and 2 eggs and hash browns and an English muffin. I was always saying to myself, "Oh, uh, it'll be okay because it's breakfast." No, it's not okay. You have to cut your calorie intake. Period. And it's hard. I mean, my stomach could make a whole opera in itself. I could just put a microphone next to it and record it, and it would be a YouTube channel onto itself. It would be unbelievable. Anyway, okay, so what have I been doing? Canning. This is our best stuff. But we if you saw the video, we have a oh, I call it a ball patent pending method. You ready? An hour. Takes an hour to do this. An hour in our jam cooker. It's amazing. 1 hour. Takes maybe 5 minutes total time to because we have a gizmo that chops up the onions and another smaller gizmo that chops up the garlic. So it's really no big deal to prep that. That's part of the recipe. And so, what else is new? What else is going on? What did I say? I said I was wrong. I said that China, I thought, was going to um, attack Taiwan this summer. I was also underneath the impression that, to be honest with you, that the Soviet force was more than what I've seen it to be. They have tremendous problems in their infrastructure and the logistics and their aircraft and their tactics and their training of their personnel, just in everything. And these personnel, I found out that didn't even know they were there for that. I mean, we're talking about major, major problems. So, unlike the Ukraine, which just separate all the politics. You have a person who's been on land for 5 generations, and they're fighting for that land, literally. Think how hard you would fight if an enemy force like China or like Red Dawn kind of thing was coming in to take over your homestead. Yeah. So they're fighting for their virtual lives and for their property and for everything else, and they're having their children taken away from them, and their women being ard and all other kinds of atrocities. All that does is really, really um, give the home court a tremendous advantage, not only in guerrilla fighting, but just we cannot fail. We fight or die. Period. With that type of mentality, man, that's a tough thing. So everybody was, and they're all talking about nuclear weapons and anything like this. If Putin launches a tactical nuke, it's disastrous on so many levels for him. First of all, that Ukraine is like there. So what I mean by there, that's like living in New York and then tactically nuking, Philadelphia and other cities east and saying, and the weather patterns, they come across like this on the US. Well, guess what? They do the same thing there. So all the fallout from this would be going into Moscow and other areas. And don't tell me, no, no, there's no such thing as a small nuclear weapon or anything like that. Please. Okay. They've shown that there is all kinds of fallout and diseases just from the nuclear depleted ammunition they were using in the A-10s. All right. So Uh, yeah, that's why I only have half the Sandra right. That's literally a half of an English muffin, just half of it. I need to have I've tried to have no carbs. I can't do it. I crash at like 10 a.m. I mean, literally, I get dizzy. I have to have some carbs to turn into some energy. Okay, I don't have any sugar in my coffee. Um, I only have 2 cups, and that's it. So, yeah, I'm literally hungry all the time. I mean, all the time. One trick I've been doing is I've been cooking like 6 baked potatoes on Monday and then reheating them and eating them. What happens is each time you reheat them, the carbohydrates they both become scrambled, and your body really can't break it down and digest it. So it ends up just being fiber and going through you. But and to my case, it actually fills me. So at least it stops those cravings, the the constant shouting of the stomach and stuff. But what I really need to do is get back into working out and doing things. And I've been just I had that broken foot again. It's a green stick that goes back. I had it first when I was 15, so it just keeps refracturing every like 5 6 years, and it's a pain. Is that you can't put anything on it, you can't do anything about it. Yeah, it's just so it's just one of those things. Um, anyway, and then there's this new canine virus. I had to give him his first vaccine for it, so he can't go to the dog park. And I mean, it's a contagious virus, and some dogs have actually died from it. It fills up their lungs with fluid. I don't really think that he's gonna get affected that way because he's extremely healthy, but I don't want that to happen to him. So, with the protocols of the shots, my vet says he'll be ready to go back to the dog parks in February. Then the shop that, my van locally, I was getting, just simple work done, things like that. They closed up. They couldn't make it. They got out of Dodge, and the new place they won't work on it if I supply my own parts. Uh, they don't have a diesel mechanic, and so I have to. I've been searching for a new local shop to work on my van. I mean, when I first bought my van, I used to do all the stuff myself. Well, after the warranty was up with the dealership, and I had access to a lift and everything. It was very easy to work on my truck, believe it or not. The simple stuff, change the oil, things like this, and lube it up, and no big deal. Okay, but I need a new exhaust system put in. I have a hole in my muffler. It's about the size of a quarter now. So I bought it. I bought a 4 inch diamond back straight, with a resonator on and everything, a glass pack, you know, and then the titanium fiberglass tape to wrap the downpipe in from the turbo because it goes underneath the dog house, and I wanted to. Everybody's like, "Well, where you put all that?" It's EMP proof. My van, I made it EMP proof, CME proof, and I put everything in there. I have a way to generate 5,000 watts of AC power. We're talking really good stuff. I can weld with it or anything. I I have a an ambulance alternator in it. It's 325 amps. Okay, and I have the appropriate RPM PTO lifter, so it goes up to 1,000 RPMs and can run like that all day. It's really a vehicle that's really designed, and I made a lot of designed to handle what's coming. Okay, including it can run anything. I mean, it can run home heating oil, can run automatic transmission oil, it can run. Um, it's amazing. Corn oil, peanut oil, you name it, it'll run it. It's not gasoline though. So there's that. Okay. And so and yes, it's 20 years old, but it's only got 160. That platform has gone multiple million miles. There's multiple out there. I mean, what turned me on to that van specifically was that I was in Disney World in 2000, and they were running these things on the waste peanut off, popping the popcorn. And I asked the guy, I said, what's the deal, And I looked at the law, but it was amazing. The thing had almost a million miles on it, and all it needed was a turbo, a training, and couple. I actually went through three trainings and a set of injectors, standard stuff. Um, my new training that I got, I wish I got 10 years ago because that's when I first blew my first transmission. But I didn't have the money to get this one. But now I do, and thank God. Um, I don't have to. That's another thing I don't have to worry about. I was worried about my rear end because I haven't seen it. So I wanted them to examine everything and make sure everything was good. It turns out they over because I thought the training might be leaking because I was seeing transmission fluid on it and stuff. And it's what I figured. The people who put it in a forward place, they overfilled it. They think that the training you fill up to the top of the hash, and you don't. You actually fill it up to the top, the bottom, which is the cold mark, and then as the transition fluid heats up, it tremendously expands. A lot of people will know this, and what happens is there's a vent on the top of the transmission, and when it'll just literally the oil will just pour out of it. So the addition thing that A1 did was they put a vent line on there, so that can't happen. They checked it, make sure there was no leak. And I said, well, while I'm here, please pull my rear on the cover and examine my rear end and let me know what kind of wear I have on it and everything. Now I've been diligent on the maintenance. I mean diligent. And every 25,000 I've been changing the fluid. And boy, Amasol, that synthetic oil I couldn't believe it. It's like a brand new rear. It was literally no signs of wear, no metal, no nothing. The guy couldn't believe it. It's like he took some pictures of his thing because he's like, Mitch is like, I got to show my clients this. I keep thinking I'm crazy. It's unbelievable. I can drive another 200,000 miles with this same maintenance. I don't think it's ever gonna. It's amazing. It was just amazing. There was literally no worn. You couldn't even. It looked like brand new. Amazing. Totally clean. So that's the big thing. Um, and the reason why is because I have again. I'm moving my son. My son is getting out of the Navy, and he's got a new job, and he's moving to Fort Worth. So I got to move him to from Pensacola. So again, I love it. I love the fact that I can help, and I love it. Okay, so I want to make sure, and because of all the stuff you have to understand when we go to a house in Vermont, there's nothing there. Now in the wintertime when everybody's skiing, sure, there's a ton of people there. Okay, it's a skiing community, but often are there times spring and parts of the sun. We can use it all year round. There's nobody there. Okay, and on the way up to there's nobody there. I mean, you could be on. There's nobody there. So we literally have supplies and things in the van. God forbid, in case flat or something like this, extra belts, tools, you name it. Things can happen. But I have supplies in there so that if I have to stay in the van because we have a bed in the back, we can. I even have dog food, bowls, everything. And I feel that if you have it, you won't need it. Which, guess what? I haven't needed it. So there it is. That's the logic I have with backing things up. I don't back things up. I back things up a billion times, but my rule that I learned was three. Okay, one to spill coffee on, one to drop on the floor and break, and another one to actually use. But I have many more. Okay, and then that goes with my son's photographs, my grandson's, everything else. Okay, so now the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about is everybody's asking about iodine pills, if I should get it and everything else. Yes, you should always have those potential. What is it? Okay, what it is it's a specific um, iodine that basically goes into your thyroid and then blocks the radioactive iodine from getting in there. Okay, which the radioactive iodine is very bad and has a half life of about 30 to 40 days, which means it'll be a problem for about 6 months if there is an incident. And it gets into everything, gets into all water things, plants, milk, air, rain, you name it. Okay, bad. Worse, and you can't do anything about this, is the cesium 137. That's really bad. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. That's okay. What's Oh, you don't have to apologize for being late. I'm just very thankful that you guys showed up. It took me this long just to get a. That's what YouTube's doing. That's what the new policy is. Since I have a extremely beautiful and great lawyer. They can't get me on that. So what they do is they just make it difficult. You know, make it hard. So then another person was asking me, well, then what do you do? Okay, so and this is important, and I'll tell you why this is important. These are things that are definitely going to happen. Okay, you definitely going to get hit with a CME. It's not from now until 11 years. There's going to be a CME that's going to send you back to the 18th century. Okay, that means the 1700s. No electricity for 3 to 5 years. Okay, so because it's going to happen, you have to realize that once it does happen, you're not going to be able to travel further than 45 to 60 miles realistically, which means you must be in a safe spot for the flip, which will happen 25 to 100 years. I don't know. Okay. But it's going to happen. So I think it'll happen sooner, personally. At least that's what everything is showing. Okay. Which means literally by 2035, by 2029, who knows? Which means we're gonna get hit with the CMA before that happens. So you got to be ready for that. Which means, and then you have the world, okay, which you have this insanity of anywhere between 2.4 to 3 million people who've just walked into this country, okay, and you don't know who they are, okay. The crime is insane, all right, insane here. Well, all over. uh, I I have no words for what's going on. Okay, no words. It's absolute, you know, and they have the attitude of, why pay for it? And that doesn't bode well for any kind of future. Okay, and then you have this insane, what I call insane, um, anti-whiteism, which basically is set upon to basically divide and conquer. That's a very communistic plan. Okay. Pick pick an enemy, and then it's also fascism too, because that's what the Nazis did. They looked at the richest population and then picked that population to attack and then spread that hate throughout everybody. Um and since 2017 in this country, white the whites, people of Caucasian persuasion, are minority. Okay. Yeah. They're no longer, they're minority. Okay. And um, so, the in order for these other people in power to distract, they have to make an enemy. It's very important. They have to identify an enemy and then divide and conquer. And then these other people are there in specific places to then address and make excuses. And then put in terms what happened in the 17th century or the 18th century, in our past, and put it into the vernacular of today, which is absurd. Um, the sense of science, the sense of knowledge, the sense of all these things are greater. And then you're taking this big paintbrush and you're painting just as wrong as it was in the past 1965 what people did in the South to the black population. And I've seen that firsthand. I saw that type of racism. I had that racism put upon me because when I was down there in Georgia with my father during the NASA years, he purposely drank out of the colored fountain, and they wouldn't let us into the diner. Okay, and then this gentleman Edward with us, he took us to this other restaurant, and that was all black, and they wouldn't let us into the diner because we were white. Really insane stuff. Okay, um, like I said, I had kids that would call me N lover because I played with um, black children, and yeah, and I didn't see any difference. The only difference was that they didn't need to have suntan lotion and they didn't get sunburn and stuff like this. That was it for me. Okay, I've always felt that way, and then my sons when they went to elementary school and middle school, they were the only two white people in the school. Okay, so, and we don't hold it against anybody. So, and I knew that there was an important lesson for them to understood, and later on, that helped them in their respective careers to understand that everybody, no matter what the race, no matter what the creed, no matter whatever, can be an idiot, an asswipe, and also great people. And you never judge a book by its cover. Okay, never. And you always wait to make a judgment and see what the person is about. Very important. And also, the diversity in the arguments and the expressions of those arguments coming from different places is the reason why we've had such great innovation in this country, to which that we still hold the largest amount of patents, the most technological advances, and that comes from that freedom of thought. Now, is it perfect? No, it has some drawbacks, okay, and its specific efficiency and everything else. But in the long run, the fact that we always look for the best, okay, it does prevail to help the most people go from one low class to an upper class to an up to become more, um, have a higher standard of living. Okay, and that also comes with the mastering of energy. It's very important. The more efficient a culture is in handling, transmitting, and then using the energy for specifically work, is a direct result in the life that culture is going to have. Okay. Remember, at a bare minimum, everything that you buy, everything that you use, everything that you do has a 23% energy component. Now, that's a minimum. It can be higher. Okay. To manufacture this glass, okay, this glass jar, a lot of energy. To recycle it, not so much. Okay. Not so much. But to do the original thing, to take sand, all those things, and make that glass, a lot of energy. Okay. Um, and that's why aluminum. Do you realize most of the aluminum we're still using in cans today and everything else is 93% of the aluminum that's out there has been mined and recycled again and again. Amazing. Okay, amazing. And it's why we should go back to glass. Okay. I believe that the move to plastics and everything else was essentially a conspiracy because, as I discussed in my video, the horror of plastics, all food, everything that's stored in plastic, everything, it puts out a molecule BPA. What is BPA? BPA basically enters the bloodstream of any individual and acts as a synthetic estrogen. Okay. For a male, it's terrible because it takes the masculinity. Now, it makes the men folk very controllable. Um, Same thing for the women. The women, it gives them cancer, it causes problems. This is what, and don't think that these people didn't have this in mind because I found reports, medical journals that date back to the 50s that understand what this plastic was all about. And note that the original creator of plastics was using corn starch, something that would biodegrade, not have any of these effects, okay, and still have the same everything, okay, but yet not have a problem with it, okay. But yeah, and so I think just like they knew about cigarettes, nicotine, they knew about other types of stuff, and these are the same people pulling the strings on Biden today. Now, another thing I was right. I What did I tell you? I said don't put any. Did Hillary go to? Did people were telling me on my chat? Oh, Durham's on it. Yeah, and all these websites and all these other YouTube channels. Durham's gonna do it, and what happened? How much money was spent, and this person was found not guilty? Yeah, goodbye. Does that break a chain? How long does it take to make an airtight case? And it wasn't. Guy walked. What does that mean? This is what I'm telling you, people. Charlie, Oscar, Utah, ball. Hey, do I want Trump to be president? Yes and no. No, because I think he's going to set off the TDS from incredible, 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 incredible. Going to pull it. Who do I like better? Okay. I like the veteran. I like the Navy guy. I like DeSantis. Okay. Why? Because he's done the right things. He brings the right things to, and he doesn't set them off as much. Okay. And he's done incredibly smart things. Especially, it's amazing. Okay. Amazing what he's done. So then I would just like Trump in one of his rallies to say he was wrong to trust Pence. He was wrong to trust Kelly. He was wrong. I'd love to see this. Okay. That would change everything in my mind. Yeah. Because everything he did and struggled for 4 years was undone, except for the Supreme Court. And how has that worked out? That's been undone. I told you it was going to be undone. I told you they weren't going to make the rulings like you thought they were going to make. Oh, yes, they made some. But the Roe v. Wade thing was very easy because it was essentially an unconstitutional thing to me. Yes, all the Judgments on that effect are not constitutional. They all should go back to the states, and the states should handle it. Period. Okay. But you see, am I right now? What? Why? New Jersey, that federal judge. Believe me. And then what did the Democrats do? They had all these crazy lunatics march on these Supreme Court justices' house. A clear federal violation. All those people should have been picked up by paddy wagons and put into jail. And yet we still have people from China who didn't do any of this. And they're in prison and isolation and in solitary confinement. 23 angels fly. How many times are you going to be disappointed to realize that there is no justice right now? Okay. There isn't. Because these people literally get away with murder. They get away with unbelievable types of things. I see it. You have people who are convicted murderers and they're out in less than 6 months. I'm not kidding. I'm telling you the truth. It's insane. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something right now. Somebody's going to break into my house and I'm going to blow this asswipe away because I'm not going to blow him away down here. I'm not going to. No, I'm a Christian. I can't kill somebody over stealing my laptop or anything like that. No. But if they open that bedroom door, if they even touch the knob, if I even hear them touching the knob, okay, it's over. It's over. I know Terry. I know his father. I know through the circles for my son. I know him. I know other Navy personnel. No, great guy. Okay, and even said if Trump runs, he's not going to run. Can't get what's more fair than that? No. So no, I do not. I've seen too much, especially with all the things he's done in Florida. Amazing, amazing things. Really incredible. And I put it to you. So you trust Biden. You trust the Democrats. You trust what's going on. Really? Really? You do that? Okay. Yeah. That's good. That's working out. Is that working out? You have to think about who's going to be electable and why they're going to be electable. Because what Trump did not do was change our election system. Will we ever be able to elect somebody again? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know because again, you think those 3 million people came in here and at least half of them are not going to get a vote? I can tell you right now in New York, you're going to see at least, and remember that they're not the only in the population here. I would say in New York State alone, there's 30 million of them. I'm not kidding. Total over the course of years. Okay. And they don't pay taxes. And it's amazing. I don't, I, I blame the administration going back to Nixon, to which that things were not set up, to which would be just like my grandparents when they came here, my mother's side. They had the Ellis Island, and they had a specific program, specific thing, and rules and they're taking the people in, and there was nothing wrong with that. That's not what happened. Okay, And instead, you have this, to which that these cartels are making billions and you ready for this? There's one cartel down in Mexico that in 1 month made more money than all of Amazon did last year. They made over $13 billion, paid no taxes on it. What do you think they can do with that kind of cash? What do you think they can buy and corrupt with that kind of money? Please, come on, people, wake up. Don't go to these websites and think that everything's Trump is in control. Trump is doing it. You, if he's in control, I don't want him more. With what the state of our nation's in now, and this is all so-called planned, please, to show people how it should be. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in my life. That's absurd. Angel Fly, you should have known that for Prescott Bush. Look up your history. Okay? 41. Who do you think ran the team that killed JFK? Oh, please. No, no. Yeah, they're corrupt. Again, there was Trump was uncontrollable. That's why they again, if he had the things that they are talking about that he had, you would not see any problems with them having him because he'd be controllable. But that's not the case. Just like just like JFK, he wanted to get rid of the vacuum tubes in the warehouses and give you IC chips and everything else and whatnot. Okay. Do you think that they wanted that kind of innovation to happen? Do you think everybody? I mean, come on! You had tube radios, and then within 3 4 years, you had a 9-volt transistor radio you can walk around with and hear everything. It's amazing. Trust any of them. Well, I trust DeSantis. I trust my son. I trust other special operators I've met. I've trust other people that I've met. I don't have any family currently serving in Congress or in again. Sandra, that's a. I'm not arguing with you. Yeah, not arguing with you because these Republicans who haven't said these outrageous things and put a thing and or even voted for some of these plans, they all need to be canned. They all need to be put on their keister. They all need to be fired. As I said to you, there should be a constitutional amendment that only allows 2 terms for any one of office position and any government position, and maybe 16 years in any government job, again, position. 16 years as a secretary, but then you could be promoted to something else, a manager. That's it. Okay. It should be something like that to stop the corruption. There should be only $10,000 allowed per person, per company, all the same thing that is allowed to give somebody a campaign for life, which means that $10,000 budget from me to say Trump is a lifetime. I can't go above that. It's not allowed. Won't allow it. Those things takes the money out of politics. There should be no insider trading allowed. As a matter of fact, it's in the Constitution. The same laws that are for us should be enforced, and there should be the same laws for everybody in Congress and in the Senate. Every is it? No. How do you think these people go in there? Getting $40 says 40 years ago, even, and yet they walk out of there and they're worth 150, $160 million. How's that possible? How did Charles Rangel, a congressman from the state of New York, who had um, governmental assistance in his office and everything in Harlem, end up walking away in 20 years with a $12.5 million estate that he owned in the Dominican Republic? And the only thing that they slapped him on was, oh, you didn't pay taxes on that. You didn't pay. Where did he get the money? See, um, that's Sanders absolutely right on that. Basically, the Democrats they're not Democrats. None of the Democrats are Democrats. They're all communists, no question about it. They're all working for the Charlie Paul, or the Charlie Paul, whatever you want to call it. And I was off on it. So it's got, and why was I off? Well, because I totally miscalculated. Um, I thought that Russia would have, you know, taken over the Ukraine in pretty short order once they started moving all their equipment and everything else. And that then there would be like a kind of an IRA guerrilla fighting from then on. But then I thought that China this summer was going to then invade Taiwan because they already have a navy that has 150 more ships than we do. They have two carriers that are on the blocks that are going in January and February, nuclear carriers. So no, what they want is a really overwhelming thing to where that they want us to lose. They want to cost us a lot of people, probably two, three carriers. They want to defeat. That's what they want. So, and they're going to do it before the 2024 elections. Scary, scary stuff. Um, Terry, this is the thing about God, and I know this for a fact. This place here, this is like a school. Okay. So we ourselves are being tested. Does God help and do miracles? I'm a witness to that myself. Had it done upon me, had it done upon my wife. Okay. I've seen many things like that. But there's no escaping what's going to happen. Now, will China win in the long run? No, but we'll all lose in the long run if something like that happens. Like I said, we don't have the time. We don't have the time to wait for an election when that thing, like I said, it's a fact. It's going to happen. And it's going to affect China. It's going to affect Russia. It's going to affect the entire world. And they're not going to be safe in their. Oh, they don't. We're not going to worry about it because we're on a bumper. Obama is so worried about climate change that he has a house right on the beach in Martha's Vineyard. Oh, Al Gore said, by the way, by now, because it's 2022, and 2018, it should have been flooded already. Manhattan should have been flooded already. Miami should have been flooded already. There should have been a seaway open in the North Pole so they can go right through. Did any of those models happen? Answer: no. Okay. Is the climate forcing going on from the sun? Absolutely. It's a known fact of the type of energy that's susceptible and what is driving the climate. And it's totally ignored. But You use it every day. You're like, I use it every day. I assume that all you people here on my channel have a microwave oven. Do you know how a microwave oven specifically works? Like, what? It works on this. It specifically vibrates these molecules because they're polarized. Okay. And as the wave passes through them, it increases the rotation. Those rotations increase friction. That friction increases temperature. It gets faster and faster and faster. That's what heat is, measure of motion. Okay. As the solar wind passes and induces microwave radiation at the poles, which travel from the poles and they radiate downward, as our magnetic field. Oh, what would deflect this? A magnet field. But as our magnetic field has gotten weaker, 10% from 1859 to 2005, in 2015 they measured it was another 10%. Yeah, that's how fast it's accelerating. See, strength up here, and then all of a sudden, that's what's happening now. Okay. Look at the runaways. Look how they're changing. So the sun induces this energy and it goes through the planet. It heats up things. What does that do? Well, the big thing that it does, okay, is that it melts part of the ice in Greenland specifically. It affects what's known as called the Labrador current. And as that Labrador current increases, it takes the Gulf Stream current, which is a heat pump from the tropics to the north. That's why England, even though it's on the same latitude as St. John's, it has the weather of mm, South Carolina, North Carolina, something like that. It gets cold, but it doesn't snow a lot. Things like this. It does snow, but it doesn't. You don't. Not like Vermont, not like St. John's, not like. But all of a sudden, it forces that current down to where that's going across to Spain and Portugal. Cuts that off. What happens? The next winter, ice is over. Big time to get hit with a big winter. The whole continent, North America, Europe, they all get hit with big. What does that do? It reflects sunlight. What does that do? It doesn't let as much heat into the system. What does that do? It brings on another ice age. Okay. Doesn't take much to tip this. Okay. Is it a big ice age? No, no. Could be a mini ice age. But what could make it bigger? Volcanic eruptions, nuclear war, big earthquakes, a super volcano going off, a near Earth object vaporizing a city, something like this, right? Yes and no. It's not NASA. Okay, it's technically, I guess, it's the DoD, but they can only control a microcosm of it. No, they didn't control Ian. Ian was 1,000 miles in diameter. Okay. Okay, they can control. They can maybe direct it, a storm to hit a specific thing if they have enough aircraft, laser beams, and everything else in the area where they can affect it a small amount, but not like you think. Okay, so no, that Ian storm was so powerful. I mean, I remember seeing plans by the Rand Corporation about a neutron bomb, which is another types of bombs which are really supposed to be clean. Dropped into the center and then exploded to try to out at sea to try to blow up a hurricane. But what they fail to understand is a hurricane's caused by a dissimilar heat. So it's taking all that heat energy from the tropics and the equator and then transporting it north. I even got some effect from Ian. We had rain and stuff like this, like dogs and cats rain up here. Okay. The Mississippi is low because the Central Plains have a tremendous drought. Okay. And they have a tremendous drought because of the magnetic shift. The same thing that's causing the magnetic shift in the Central Plains is causing a huge rain to drop in the Southwest right now. Okay. As where do you think that rain goes? It goes there. Okay. This is all from the meandering effect of the jet stream. Okay. And that is a direct effect of the magnetic pole it started to do the flip in 1859. So it, like I said, it accelerates. So is it gonna? Yeah, it's gonna happen. When is it gonna? I don't know. It's gonna happen when next. I mean, I could say 15 to. I would say no more than 50 years, and I'm not an expert in it. But I would say less. I would say more. You basically have to resign yourself to the fact that it's gonna happen. How is it gonna happen? Is it gonna flip the whole planet? Odds are yes. It hasn't the planet hasn't done that for 750,000 years. Odds are it's going to do it again because it's done it like clockwork before. Um, so yeah, they've stopped transporting barges. It's a major problem in the Mississippi. You know, people don't realize how this is talked about in the Bible, and this is what happens when you have magnetic change, and they happen. Okay, they happen pretty regularly. If you don't believe me, look at the geology of the Grand Canyon to the geology of the seabeds. These things are documented events. Every basically 6,000 years, something happens. Do we? Yeah, we survived it. Um, but I mean, the last time you know there was a reduction of species by almost 90%. That it did something like that. The small ones, they only have a 4% reduction in species. Yeah, I know but you missed. Guess what? But it's happened before too, Terry. It's happened in the past before. We weren't there in the 1700s, but there were pirates and other types of things that commented on it back then. So there was a time. There was the time we had no summer. That was caused by a volcanic eruption. There was a tremendous drought that happened with that. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get things like this. So we live in do does oil and coal and does it pollute? I don't believe natural gas pollutes. I think not burning natural gas is stupid because believe it or not, methane is worse than just burning natural gas. So it's like 11 to 1. So it's stupid not to burn it. But really, the other thing is they're not efficient. I mean, like I downstairs, I have a tankless natural gas water heater. It's 98% efficient, and I'm not kidding you. I put it in here in 2002. Work like a charm. We do service it. We wash it with Mirac. The guy comes and he serves it with muriatic acid. They flush it, remove the calcium scaling in it and stuff like this. Right, right. Oh, you're sleeping. Your nose is all dry. Anyway, yeah, but it works fantastic. I would recommend it to everybody. Yep, yep. Um, yeah. Well, I know that they're having a problem. Um, like I said, did any of the models of the climate change predict that? Answer: No, nope. Did they predict any of this? Nope. They always count on heat, 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 but the reality is that there's been all kinds of record cold throughout the world. Are they talking about that at all? No. That's classic, you know, magnetic field changes and, climate change. The climate changed since the melting of the last ice age. There was no Ford or Toyota that did it. We weren't there to anything we did. We were here, but we didn't do anything to melt it. And you have to ask any one of these people who's spending all these trillions of dollars. You have to say to them, well, wait a second. If we didn't do it in the past, what did it in the past? I think we should focus on that because yes, we should have had a moon type, project like Kennedy did, but not the moon. It would be to discover new energy, and that being room temperature superconductors, and that should have been by Nixon in '73 when we had the first energy crisis. We would have had the technology by '87. And how difference would that make? Oh, please. 100% efficiency to where that Florida would have become the energy capital of the United States. You're like, what? What? It's the lightning capital of the world. With that kind of technology, you realize they could actually store lightning. They could actually take a lightning bolt and store it in a capacitor. That's what you get with supercapacitor. You can do things like that. I mean, and you could transmit it anywhere in the country at 100% efficiency with no loss. Phew. Uh, yeah, I mean, it would change everything. Everything from everything would change. It would be such a game changer. Everything would have changed literally overnight. Because then you're talking everything. Every electrical device would become with the change with the new 100% efficient. It's, it's a greater leap than going from magnetic tubes to an IC chip. Okay, it, I can't even tell you the ramifications of everything from transportation to medical science to everything. It'd be incredible. Okay, absolutely incredible. We should have been doing. What did we do for 47 years? We just refined stuff that we learned on the moon to get us there. That's all we just refined it. We didn't really we made innovations in software. Okay. Software is what makes all this stuff possible. But we didn't really do that much. Okay. I mean, you could say there were some innovations in nanotechnology, but again, what made that possible was it was a derivative from the moon technology. And I'll tell you right now, you would have had the holy grail of tech. You would have had superconductivity, room temperature. You would have had, stable, fissionable, safe nuclear power. You would have had a photon if you had to go to Mars and develop a moon base, and I mean a real substantial Mars plan. Necessity of you would have had that. You have to have it. You'd have to have something, a computer, something that could survive at CME. You'd have to have um, power systems that literally couldn't waste anything, not even anything, because everything would have to be recycled. So you got to have room temperature stuff. and to be able to harvest anything there, you'd have to harvest it. You'd have to have that, and then you have to have a slick nuclear power that would work in 0G, and that's a lifter. No question about molten salt reactors. That's slicker than snot. It works by the physics of the actual chemistry of the molten salts and everything else. Totally safe. You know, you could say it's God designed. It's amazing. It's amazing the work that Kirk Sorensen did recovering the stuff that was done at Oak Ridge and those amazing work by those scientists. And I have family in on that too. Dr. Sidney Ball, amazing, amazing stuff. And Nixon got a call from GE, and yes, sir, just wipes it off, gets rid of it. Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful? Doesn't it? Doesn't that make you feel great? Um, yeah. I mean, as far as the Fort Myers thing in Florida, hello, okay. Look at the history when the Spanish had Florida. Okay, they were getting hit with hurricanes down there. I mean, it was so many ships loaded with Spanish doubloons that went down. Oh my God, I would say more. Okay, look at the writings of Ernest Hemingway if you don't believe me. And remember, they didn't name stuff then. Everybody's like, oh, you know, look at the hurricane of '38, which came up the coast and literally wiped out everything along, killed 34,000 people in the Northeast from Long Island through Connecticut to Massachusetts. I mean, look at the pictures, people. It's just unbelievable. Toothpicks and splinters, the stuff was left. Okay, there was nothing left. Look at the hurricane that hit Galveston. So, no, no, don't need any technology this is what happens. Okay, so and yes, you can create rain from laser beams, but there has to be a specific. The moisture content in the air has to be above, I think it's 17%. And what does a laser beam do? 632 nanometer laser basically goes in and will ionize the water, and by doing so, it creates a seed for the crystals to develop. It's just like a dust seed. How they did in the 50s was they used to seed clouds. They used to spray this the seed, and again, that's if there was a cloud where they could create that seeding and then create, a rain cloud. They tried to do. They did a lot of weather modification in Nam. They did some um, in other areas, but the reality is that if you take water away from one place, it doesn't rain on another place. So that's what basically happens. And again, none of their models work. I mean, it's 2022, and yet they still can't predict more than 5 days out. Think about that. 2000, they were doing the same weather forecast as far as 5 to 6 days out reliably, going all the way back to 19, oh, I say 1940. You got to know they should be better at it than now. So why are they not doing it? All right. Any other questions on that? So was I right about Durham? Yes, I was right about Durham. Was I right about Trump? I was right about Trump. Was I right about all these things I was talking about? Was I right about? Yes, I was right about. Was I right about China? No. Yes. Yes and no. I mean, China's waiting to have, they're not stupid. They're waiting to have this battle that is just so incredibly in their favor. I don't know. I don't. I think we're going to chicken out of it. And we have a chance to make it extremely, extremely cost prohibitive for them now, which means if we just sold And this is for money. If we just sold Taiwan all the iodomes and aircraft and everything they want now, you would make it very, very, very difficult for China later on. Very difficult. But you know what? With those two new carriers coming online, with the other two carriers here, you're talking about four carriers. You could really add another four because of all those islands that they picked up and they've armed. So you're talking about eight carriers. We only have 10 total. Yeah. So, and then they've taken all their fishing boats and everything else, and they've converted them into basically armed small boats. And oh, yeah, but who was telling you this, Angel Fly? Who was telling you? I was telling you, and then you again doubt me above here. You say, "Oh, I don't trust." I'm telling you right now. Okay, DeSantis is really our only shot. He's our only shot. It's the only one my Democratic friends is like, well, yeah, he's done a pretty good job because they have property in Miami, property. So they've actually seen his work. And I know him from, oh God, I mean, I know him from other things. So it's not coming to me on one thing. Am I saying that Trump is a bad guy? Absolutely not. But like I admit mistakes freely. Was I wrong? I said that China would take over Taiwan before the end of summer. Was I wrong? Absolutely wrong. I don't have any problem saying that. I was wrong on the information I presented. I'm not making excuses. I was wrong. The conclusion I had was wrong. Is it smarter what they're doing? Wow, it's pretty smart because they're making it to where that it'll be so overwhelming. Think about the how 8 carrier equivalent forces in less than 350 miles of an area. Talk about control. Not to mention, it's right on the border of their whole country. Add another 3 carriers for that. Wow. I mean, how can you possibly think of going against that? You can't. And what will they get? They'll get 5 nanometer technology and even more. Taiwan is the semiconductor capital of the entire world. So if you're resigned, because right now it's kind of like in the way you resign, you're going to lose that. You're going to lose it. Well, heck, you better move American companies and chip manufacturers the heck out of there. Apple better get their crap together and get out of there. Okay. Because if we don't keep it here, but then, like I said, the CME is inevitable. What will happening to all that robotic and manufacturing, everything else, when a CME hits? Dead. Won't work. We'll be in worse shape than if a CME hit us in the beginning, like in the 70s, 71, 72. Yes, we would have, but there was less computer systems, less SCR systems, less all these things. Things were mechanical and manual and everything else. Yes, you'd have burnt that stuff. Yes, but you'd be able to pretty quickly set up machines to make stuff again and make electronics again. You can't do that now. You have almost sixth, seventh generation of machines making machines. A lot of these people don't even know what's down there. And yes, I know that because I did a lot of work for the Apple when they were converting things over. That was in 2012, and I had to talk to these idiots in India, and they didn't even know what was on down there. They didn't know. "Oh, why'd you have to do that? What is it?" I'm like, "You're an idiot. This thing's gonna run 3 billion instructions a day over and over and over again. I gotta know what's down there because I can make it 100 times smaller than what it is now, which is huge when you have limited milliamps of battery. Please. So far, I love DeSantis. He has done great things. Um, I don't think. I think he's going to. He's done so much for so many people down there, for his population, everything else, and he basically identified the open border, literally the open border, which was denied by all media. Media had to cover Martha's Vineyard, and what did that show? Within 40 hours, those people were gone. And then those people kept all the donations for themselves. They didn't give it to those people. They kept it for them because they were inconvenienced. Well, what does that mean? Who's really racist? They are. They're the ones who are racist. They're the ones who don't think that the people up. It's tremendous. You've never seen such racism because you see, they they think you're stupid, and a lot of you are for believing this crap. I can't believe you guys believe some of this stuff. Even though I told you, I'm telling you the truth. But you see, they were saying stuff that you wanted to hear. True love is when somebody tells you the truth that you don't want to hear, that you know is going to cause those people to attack you because it's not what they want to hear, but it's the truth. That's tough. I'm fat. Do I want to hear I'm fat? Well, at this point in time, I'm resigned to it. Okay, but I used to be a lot fatter. You should see me when I weighed 407. Bob, you weighed four. Yeah, yeah. And nobody believes me. Like, oh, come on. How fat were you? Oh, they're like, wow, you were that fat? You were fat? Oh, yeah. My sons had to have an intervention. I'm not kidding. A literal intervention. Yeah. See? Now that's fat. Okay. I mean, wow. So, yeah, they had that, my son's later on, said, Dad, you need to get your act together. Okay. Enough already. Right. Oh, okay. Seems like this is my last one. My last one, buddy. Anyway, so yes. So I was really fat. Was I fitter than I am now? I would say I was fitter than I am now because this, of course, was before my stroke. My stroke happened basically 7 years ago. And what it resulted in is basically my right side. Um, I mean, my right arm is about the strength, but I would say I also had damage to my quadricep and my upper quads because of the blood. What happened was when I'm in the hospital, they recognized the other blood clots that were in my upper quads, but they didn't want to do anything to them because They didn't want them moving to kill me. Okay, so instead they just, they let the muscle that in my upper quad die basically. So my leg, it's not nothing I can't overcome with the time and a lot of, and I have, but it's hard for me to get up, and it's definitely no question it's 50% weaker than it was. So, um, no, there's no question that 41 um, basically did you could say it was the second coup. It was a first coup, Abraham Lincoln. The second one was with Julie, JFK in '63, and it was run by 41. Okay, so there's no question that 45 um, um, actually, but the problem was, again, there was all the shenanigans and everything else, right? And they were not changed. They weren't changed from the 2016 when they recognized them. They were even worse because of the pandemic. So all these rules, mailbox, and everything else were put into place for the pandemic. Okay, you had some of the best economy results, but pandemic. Okay, and the economy is coming back, but pandemic. Okay, so that was definitely, and then there's other people who took the silk parachute, right? There were leaders put in charge in specific instances who were told what they're supposed to do. Okay, what do you do when you're fighting evil in front of you? What do you call upon? You're not supposed to fight it. You call upon Jesus to fight it. You're not able to fight it. Okay, it specifically says you call me Jesus. He'll come and fight it. Okay, you told a line, but you let Jesus take care of it. Whether he's doing it through you, whatever, it doesn't matter. He's going to take care of it. I fear no man or beast because I know that Jesus is going to control. Does that mean I play Toro Toro with an 18 wheeler on the expressway? No. That's not fear. That's not respectful of my Lord and Savior. It's not respectful of God who gave me this merciful gift of life. It's being stupid and foolish. Okay. So there are things to respect and there's things not to. You don't fight spiritual. You're talking about a person who couldn't put their hand on a Bible. What does that mean? Okay. Not good. Okay. How do you fight that? These people did not only not fight it, they took their silk parachute and left you for dead. They didn't care. They're safe. They're fine. They're good. Okay. Look what Romney's doing after Trump did all that stuff. Look at the Christian that Romney is. Was he really ever reformed? Was he ever? No. Did Trump? Fine, Trump forgive him, but you don't take him into your confidence. You don't do anything. You don't do that. No. Okay. You just don't. Again, mistake not correcting the election system before the 2018 elections. Mistake. And then further not rectifying it so that 2020 is the way it is. Mistake. When you 2005 you were on a TV show and you told everybody what you would do and what should be done, how you could correct it and make sure it's fair. And what do you say? Everybody knows how to use an ATM. Is that wrong? Everybody uses ATMs. Everybody. It's not racist, not sexist, not nothing. They have it for every. You don't have to change anything. So why? Because you see, you can't control that because that's fair. Just like letting all these people in here, then giving them driver's licenses and registering them. Let me ask you this. Put the scenario in this way. How fast do you think that wall would be built and finished? That's another thing he should have had done and completed. If these people coming into this country were voting Republican, how fast? If you said be done tomorrow and this would stop, you're absolutely correct. You think this isn't on purpose? And then if you're saying this, then how is Trump in control? Not in control. I told you he's not in control. If he was in control, then why would they raid his house? What's that all about? It's the same thing that FISA was about. The three FISA things that Durham couldn't even get that on. I have no words, but it's something that I told you. You didn't want to hear it. Did I say it? Go back and look. I said it. Trump has too much of an ego. There's no question about that. But I've learned a long time ago that people who admit mistakes are much more powerful than people who don't. You have to admit your true mistakes, your true things that you should have avoided. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. Do I blame him for those mistakes when they happened? I don't blame him. He was doing the best he could. Okay. Have I made mistakes? Yes, I let my fuel get too low on my son's trip, and the last package of fuel had to go to this place off Hoboken's Path or whatever, and I put diesel into my truck that I kind of thought it was a name brand, it was BP, but it didn't look like they pumped a lot of diesel in. Turns out they did. What did I put in my tank? Sand and dirt and crap. Turns out it was at the bottom of his tank. Enough to get me to the 35, 40 miles to my son's place, whether by the way, it was clean fuel. But then all of a sudden the next day, I'm not even hooked up to the trailer, and one of my injectors starts, boom, stick wind fire was locked up. What did they find? A bag of sand in my tank. Second time I did that to my truck. How does my truck like it? It doesn't like it. No, no. That's why I had to take it and have it shipped to Georgia for a team to work on it. And then what did I do? I spent $9,500. What you're like? Why? Why? I didn't just do the injectors. Okay, if they're going to be in there and they're going to do, I had them do everything. Okay, take out that to put a bigger one on it. To put the real OEM do all this. I had them do everything. Okay, things you know that I have enough for the. I didn't have enough. I didn't have another $7,500 to do transmission. Didn't have it. Okay, but I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, so I don't have to worry about the engine ever again for at least another 250,000 miles. Okay. What did I have them? I put a freaking polisher on the fuel, which means that'll never happen again. Okay. Even if I get bags of sand dumped into my tank, okay, you can't pass through my polisher system that I have before even my engine gets it. and then I put a new fuel pump on it, a whole thing. Okay, was that my fault? Absolutely my fault. I always said I was going to fill up before I got below a quarter of a tank. I was seeing yellow. How did that happen? A matter of things. My fault. Okay, more traffic, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Should have made sure. Do I make sure now? Even though I have a fuel polish on it, I make sure. Okay. I don't ever want to be in that circumstance again. My fault. That's the thing. The key is you learn from your mistakes. So you're like, another person was questioning, well, why are you doing all this work? Is all those things broken? No, not broken. You want to change your radiator, your fan clutch, your water pump. Well, why do you want to do all that? And even change the pulleys and everything because they've never been changed. It's 20 years. Part of the banks on the side of the radiator, they're plastic, 20-year-old plastic. Is it going to leak? Eventually, it'll leak. How? I don't know. Maybe another 5, 6 years. I don't know. But I do know that it'll leak or break down at the worst time. How about the water pump? Never been changed. 20 years. Is there anything wrong with it? No. But it's going to fail. So why not get it before it fails? What about the pulleys in the? No. But again, you have the whole thing apart. So put in a new fan clutch. Put in a all new pulleys. Why not? Got all apart. Can I find anybody local to do it? You ready? Haven't been able to find any. You ready? The guys in Georgia don't want to do it. They can't even get my friend Billy's like can't get any mechanic who wants to work on it. Too hard to work on. They don't want to work on it. What does that tell you? When the work's too hard. Yeah. Yeah, no. And they got other work that's easier so they can get away with it. But what is that telling you? Oh, what kind of environment do I have here? It's very, very frustrating. It's really frustrating because my truck is simple. It really is. And yes, that's why I want to have those things changed now before they break so that I don't have to worry about it. I can drive it another 20 years and not worry about it. Okay. Not think about it. Not fail in the middle of nowhere. And be around for what I know it's going to happen. So now I have to. That's another thing I don't have to worry about. I can rely on it. That's it. Can I rely on the drivetrain? Absolutely. I can rely on the engine. Can rely on the transmission, and now I can rely on the rear end. What are they trying to do, Paula? What's the whole purpose? Why are they doing all this? Ready? They don't want him to run again. Why don't they want him to run? Same reason why they did the Charlie Oscar Utah Paul. Why did they do that? They can't control him. Now, DeSantis is going to be, in their eyes, more manageable because he doesn't have unlimited funds. He doesn't have this, but they're wrong. He is not afraid of them at all. That's it. And DeSantis is not. He's not afraid of them. He's not afraid. You can see that. He's not afraid. They think they can get to him with money and campaign and everything else, but he is no pushover. Nope. Mm-mm. He lives up to his morals and standards, period. And he admits when he makes a mistake. That's another thing. What does DeSantis do when he makes a mistake? I thought it would do this, but it didn't. So we're going to do this. I love that. That's what you want. You want a leader who's going to change because things are not working. So they're not going to ride it into the ground. They're going to change. They're going to change. That's so important. It's very important for you in your life to be able to look at a situation and say, this isn't working. Okay, maybe I should downshift to make it up this grade. Maybe I should change my direction. Maybe I should do something else to talk, have a conversation, to say, you know what, I don't know everything. Let me bounce this off of somebody else. Maybe by explaining to them, I'll rework it. Maybe they'll come up, they'll say something, they'll come up. Yeah, why not? You can't be not open to that. That's not what God wants you to do. God wants you to learn, be open. He wants you to listen. He wants you to show everybody his love and his grace, but realize that his love and his grace is not just for you, it's for everybody. Jesus didn't die for just me, he died for everybody. He had died for Biden, believe it or not, whoever, wherever Biden is. The guy who's there, not Biden. Okay, Biden had lobes. Just saying. Look up. No. DeSantis will be like Jack was. Jack thought that fooled them in a lot of ways, thinking that he was going to do this, and he didn't. You think you think you think they wanted all those vacuum tubes and all that stuff? Do you wanted they wanted it to be worthless? You think that they wanted him not to go into Vietnam? They want him to go. They want him to do all of it. Did he? No. Was he going to? He wasn't going to take Johnson on it. No, not Johnson was not on the second. He's not going to be on the second. Oh, definitely, trust is running very thin these days. But you have to look at somebody by their past and by their past actions. I put it to you: how many YouTubers that are out there doing what I do? You saying liberal, high-minded, or Dave or anything else? Are they using their full name? What am I making a secret of who I am? My name is Bob Bull. Do I make a secret of it? I don't make a secret of it. Is my CV on my Patreon page? Absolutely. It's right there. Am I published? Yep. Mhm. Yep. Have I said to what? Yeah, sure. Have I lectured? Sure. I've been on radio. Yep. Do I have opinions? Absolutely. Are they always right? No. Mostly are they right? Do I am I open? Do I want somebody to debate me and say, "This is why you're wrong," and improve it? Absolutely. If you say I'm wrong about the fact that water can become a black body radiation body, um, and think that it's always opaque, but when it's compressed very rapidly and very fast, it can actually be as black as an oil slick. You're like, what? Yeah. That was determined in the Baker explosion at the Bikini Atoll. That discovery was made in that explosion. You can look at the films and see, and look at the 1/10 speed films, and you'll see that there's a black ring that moves out before the white, and that is the water being shock compressed to 8 gigapascals. What's that in pounds? Million three per square inch, something like that. I don't, I don't know what the calculations are. but something like that. You're like, what? Yeah. What are you talking about? That talks specifically back to what I was talking about with microwaves and how the climate is affected not by CO2, but by water vapor. Why? Because 78% of the planet is covered by water. What is 92% of the greenhouse gas? Why is the sky blue? Water. And no, it's not blue because the no, it's blue because of what happens to the frequencies as they scatter through the atmosphere. That's why the sun is red as it sets because it rips all those other spectrums out, and the only thing you have left is long wave, red, and infrared. Okay, that's from water. Yeah. What? Yes, the major driver of the climate on this planet is water. I'm like, oh, you mean the 3 states of no, 4 states. 4 states of water. Okay, it's called you can look this up too. Easy water. Okay, look that up. Homework, easy water. There's two provisional papers written about that. Another YouTube site to see, it's not very popular, it's Sky Scholar. And he talks about the actual fact that the sun is not a plasma gas. Yeah, yes, the corona is a gas, but no, it's a metal. It's hydrogen and it's metal lattice form, and it makes water. It's called star water. That's why there's water on the moon. When you hear this from any other scientists, some, but a lot, no, because they don't know anything. They're stupid. Okay. Are they stupid? Not all of them, but most of them. I mean, I had a doctorate from MIT computer scientist who was supposed to help me when I was putting together the gray cell flies for the Tron project. So they built this. I was a lot thinner. My sons made a point of telling me, this is, of course, I mean, I was literally just married, I mean, and my sons were commenting, what happened. This is what they do. Okay, you gotta dig the old man. Anyway, this guy didn't know what a TTL is. So I'm like, he's so I hand him my wife's card. I'm not kidding. I actually did this. My wife was working for this law firm at the time in the city. I hand him I hand him my wife's card. He says, "What's this for?" I said, "This is so you can call up and sue MIT and get your money back." Oh, yes, we went to the moon. Absolutely. There's proof of it in Maryland University every single day. Every single day, Maryland University is shooting a laser beam, okay, which was put into place 30 minutes after Neil got on the moon, was walking around, and it's still in use today. And you shoot a laser at it, and it shoots the laser back at the Earth, and they measure the distance, and they still use it today. Okay, so and they started testing and shooting at it literally then. Okay, so yes, um, I think it's coming. Yes, that would be, you know, that's like saying when the second coming. That you could say that's when the bowls are going to be spilled and everything else. Yeah, uh, you know, could happen before then. But you have to understand, what's the definition of an over? I mean, the thing that happens with The micronova event that Ben is talking about, Ben Davis is talking about, it's written in his books, is there's a certain amount of material, and you'll notice that the actual spectrum and color of the sun has shifted and changed. Okay, that builds up over a specific period of time. Okay, specifically every 12,500 years. Specifically, when the galactic sheet changes polarity, which means it goes like this. Okay, so it pushes all that dust and everything, and you can see it happening, which means we've seen other star systems go nova, and then what we've seen is other planets are having conniptions in our solar system. Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter. You've seen these, okay? Mars. You got a dust storm on Mars that's out of season, it's stationary, and it's huge. It's like a third of the planet. You're like, what? Okay. You're starting to see changes on the Earth with the wacky weather and everything else. And then what happens is that all that dust is attracted to the sun. It for a nanosecond, okay, say 2 nanoseconds, or even say a millisecond, and also the speeding up of the Earth, which means um, last month we had some of the fastest days we've ever had. Okay, on recorded history, like 0.26. Okay, plus in one day. The shortest days. Okay, and it's insane. And it's like you have to realize the Earth's a dynamo. Okay, so as this thing's changing, it's like taking that magnet top that's spinning, and you're coming by with a magnet, and you're pushing it faster and faster. Okay, you're inducing a voltage on it. So what happens is that everything solidifies for a millisecond. We'll say a millisecond. It's probably less than that, but I'm just saying a millisecond. It's solidified. Well, can it do that? No. Okay, it can't. So it explodes with a huge pressure. Okay, and all that material and everything, and that's the micronova event. But unfortunately, unlike a CME, which is directed in one specific way, which we're in, every 75 to 250 years that happens. This is 360 degrees, and it hits all the planets. Okay, all the stuff. And the side that's facing it of the Earth. And last time it was this side. Okay. Next time they think it's going to be odds are it's going to be the Pacific. Okay. Um, but technically it can decouple. So that event can cause the flip, can relieve enough and induce enough to create the environment to where the flip can easily occur. Not to mention the amount of radiation, everything else, and stuff that'll be happening. But there won't be any um, place to escape from it. Okay. And for days afterwards, it's going to take, I would say, 10 to 15, 20 years for our shield to build up again to where it can fought off cosmic rays and huge lightning storms and other types of plasma events and everything else. So, are we still 5 by 5, or is anybody having a problem? Yeah, well, again, this was classified. It was classified for many years. The reason why they went to the moon was because of this. They wanted to find out if this was true because of what they discovered in the Antarctic and what they discovered with Captain White and Chan Thomas's thing that they banned. So the glass beads that they found on the moon, they found a lot of them. They were then able to go to Egypt and other places, and they saw the same beads. Only one thing had happened to make that, and that is a micronova event. So it's what it is. what it is. I have a tremendous difficulty getting an open stream to on my Friday shows. I want to actually do more shows, but I've been constrained by time. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry for that, Johnny. I really am. But the one thing that and even Ben says he prepared. He took an old Cummings diesel and put it into a suburban and everything else. That's a lot more work. I just took an old a Power Stroke from 2002, and I shielded the electrical components and everything else. And then, because you have to realize I have an E in electronics and other types of electric stuff, and so I know how to do things like that. Um, but again, I'm not gonna leave there. Okay. I would basically just use it for transportation for just there, and that would be really on an emergency basis. I would say to keep it whatever, but I was certainly not. And so that's another thing I was discussing on my Patreon page. Because somebody asked me, why are you putting all this money into refurbing and everything else? I'm not really refurbing it as such as just I've been maintaining it. It's in really good. It's better mechanical shape than when it was new, except for the radiator, the fan clutch, and the water pump. And of course, if I'm doing those things, I'll put a new thermostat in it. Okay. And yes, do I change the radiator fluid every year? Yes. Needs it, doesn't need it, it's changed. Um, no bunkers will protect. Basically, um, a cave, a cave with a mountain above you will protect. That's about it. But a bunker, you won't be able to get air. All HVAC systems will fail. No matter what they do, they'll fail. Because in the ground, the induction will be at its most. It'll be unbelievably bad. Okay. So, um, I think, I think, um, I think the waves will be approximately 1,750 feet. I differ from Ben because you got to realize how deep the oceans are, okay, and how much the momentum is going to be from those oceans. But I do believe what will be worse, and what's always worse, is the implosion. On a vacuum implosion is always worse than the explosion, and that's the reason why speed. So the sloshback is going to be it's going to be really really worse for the European countries because it's going to just keep coming. It's going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. It's going to be bad. Okay, and then that also is going to be bad on the east coast of the U.S. Because of the all that water draining and taking everything with it. I'm looking at seeing the Atlantic Ocean, literally the Atlantic Ocean, at the base of those overviews. You see my mountain, and you see that I'm gonna see the ocean there. Yeah, I'll be fine, but I'm looking that valley is gonna be filled with seawater. That's what I think is gonna happen. Okay, it's it's gonna be bad. So that's another reason why. Um, no. Yes, but no. The active Grand Canyon, okay, are there? there is the yes, there's rocks in part that are, believe it or not, um, as young as the last ice age flood that went and made those valleys. But okay, um, there's evidence of rock to go back 2 billion years. Okay, so there's been many layers of different types of things that are exposed from each cataclysm that happened. And they happened at different geological periods in time. So it wasn't all formed in one fell swoop. No, it was the act of several um, cataclysmic events. Um, there's signs that because again, what's going to happen is that Antarctica and Greenland are going to be fully melted because it's going to be on the equator. So there that the amount of weight of ice that's holding down um, Antarctica is huge. So nobody knows what's going to happen when that weight is removed. Okay, that's a lot of displacement. They also don't know fully what's there. There been pictures and that I definitely, my opinion, there's a pyramid there too. There's a pyramid in every single continent. It's not by chance. I believe that there was a past sophisticated civilization that was wiped out for whatever reason. Okay, they had their chance, and God, this is what happens. We had a chance to prevent this too. Okay, we still do because it hasn't happened. Can it be done? Yep, can be done. 130,000 satellites set up like mini umbrellas that open up huge to a thin mylar covering to stop the CME, okay, to give it an inducement that would be exactly opposite. And that force would be generated by the CME itself. Would the satellites, for the most part, be sacrificed? Yeah, they would. But it would take up at least 86 to 90% of the force of it, which would prevent a huge cataclysm from occurring. Can this be done with a satellite put in orbit that would, a robotic manufacture? Yeah, it can be done. Would it cost money? Sure. Should it be done? Absolutely. Okay. Can it stop the flip? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know. Would the flip happen if we didn't get the micronova event? I don't know that either. Ben Davis doesn't know this either. A lot of the stuff is looking at the past, but when you start preventing some things, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. But I know one thing: the micronova event will decouple the mantle with the exterior crust. No question about it. It'll do that. I got 30 seconds. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys to this wonderful weekend that we're having. I'm so glad that you met me here. Share this with your friends. I hope I answered some of your questions. And I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. Safe and God bless.